Hey everybody, it's James over here at the Yes Year podcast. So this week, going to be a little bit different. It was Beth's birthday, and also she's feeling really under the weather this week. So what we're going to do is we're going to put out a Patreon episode that I actually did with Tabitha. So that way you guys can get a taste of what we do over there at the Nostalgia Group, which is basically our Patreon for the Yes Year podcast. So hope you guys like this. It's for a really good movie. Real funny. And yeah, so here we go. Thanks for stopping by. Hello, and welcome back to the Nostalgia Group. I'm your host, James. I'm joined today by Tabby.
Hey.
Hey, how are you today, Tabby?
Doing pretty good. Doing pretty well. How about you?
How's your week been?
Pretty good, actually. Very, uneventful, though.
Yeah? Nothing new going on in your life?
Nope, just hanging around. Oh, well, I do have a job, though.
Oh, congratulations. What are you doing now?
I work at Kroger.
That's so cool, man. What do you do there?
I am a courtesy clerk cashier.
Jeez.
Surprising for my age, I've been told.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of pressure. All you got to do all the change and all that madness.
I had to learn about it, too.
Oh, man, that sounds like a lot of little math going on in your head.
Yeah.
Ugh. Well, that's cool. So it's been a while. We've been slacking a bit, but we'll get back on the horse with the episodes and everything like that. With everything busy and school starting back and everything, it's just been a lot going on. So, but yeah, we're definitely going to jump back into this. So in this episode, we're going to review Reefer Madness. This is a cult classic and one of my favorite memories from when I was younger. My sisters and I used to watch this and laugh at it ridiculous. Just
Really?
like the ridiculously of this movie is just out there. It's so funny. Like the first time I sat and watched this and it came on and it was black and white, I was like, really? I was like, what do you guys got me watching?
It's pretty funny for its time. I don't think they were trying to go for that.
No, it wasn't supposed to be funny at all. It was supposed to be a serious, like, warning type movie.
Maybe for, like, school and stuff?
Yeah, for people, for school, to warn parents, to, like, I think they were thinking maybe pass it out at churches and all that kind of stuff, so. Yeah. But no, it as I'll talk about, it kind of got revived into something more. But it's really funny how my good memories of my sisters revolve around movies and like weekends where we would hang out and watch movies and do all that kind of stuff. Like that's kind of like my parents would go on these weekend trips, or they'd go over to their friend's house on the weekends and everything like that and hang out. And I would be just chilling with my sisters because they're all older than me because I'm the youngest. And
relatable.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And you know, we would just have a good time. We'd get, some food, some snacks and everything, and just watch movies. I think it's one of the reasons that I wanted to start a podcast in the first place revolving around movies. I think it's something just...
It's a big part of your life, huh?
Yeah.
And they're old-timey, you don't want people to forget, because, it's kind of nostalgic in a way, huh?
Yeah, definitely. Ba-boom. Nostalgia.
Nostalgic.
So, question for you. What was your initial impression of what this movie was going to be like when you looked at, like, the DVD box... watching the trailer and everything like that? Like, what did you think it was going to be like?
Well, at first I thought it would kind of be like comedy-like, because it kind of looked unserious, but also serious at the same time, like a mixture of both sometimes.
Yeah.
And the trailer definitely had its mixture. I think in the trailer they showed the most important parts and just kind of cut out everything else. Because there was no talking, none of that, none of the plot line. There was just all the important scenes of what happened, so it kind of just spoiled everything.
Yeah. What would you give if you were to rate the trailer? What would you rate the trailer out of 5?
I would probably give it like a 3 for spoiling like the whole entire movie.
It did kind of give it away, but I think it was
it was funny, but
yeah.
it did kind of spoil everything and leave out everything else, because you'd probably be like, oh, this looks cool, and then you watch it and it's like, oh, it was kind of booey.
So Reefer Madness, originally made as Tell Your Children, is a 1936 film revolving around the dangers of marijuana. The film was initially funded... Right, with an H. The film was initially funded by a church group attempting to be shown as a morality tale, attempting to educate parents in regard to the dangers of cannabis use. Soon after it was shot, it was purchased by a producer named Dwayne Esper, who recut the film for distribution on the exploitation film circuit throughout the remainings of the 30s into the 40s and the 50s. Like, really? So it was showing here and there and like whatever. The film was rediscovered in the 1970s and gained a new life as an unintentional satire. You know what a satire is?
Like fake, but
like a joke, something satire. It's a joke. The film had $100,000 budget, which by today's standards would be almost $2 million.
Really?
Yeah, so it had a huge budget, which, I mean, they were really trying to get this point across. The film does not star anyone of any consequence actor-wise, and the critics have called it one of the worst films ever made. Yeah. So, with that being said, we can go ahead and jump into the movie, unless you have anything you wanted to talk about before.
The rating for the trailer, I mean, definitely for a 3, why I give it a 3 is because, I mean, it definitely does show that it could have some interesting points into it.
Uh-huh.
But a trailer for something that you usually see at, like, an old-timey school for, like, warning, this is pretty bad. It was kind of, it seemed interesting. Like, maybe they did that because, you wouldn't expect this to be a movie. You'd probably be, like, a lecture or something.
You guys don't really get shown educational films anymore in school.
No, we do not.
That's so weird. Like that was something like films like this. Like you ever seen on The Simpsons when they show like when Troy McClure shows up and he's like, "Hi, I'm Troy." Like I'm going to Bovine Academy. Remember, and he takes him to the cow slaughter. Like
yeah.
Like those are. Those used to be like real films in school, like blood flows red on the highway and stuff like that. Like don't drink and drive and all these warning episodes that used to be films that they used to pass around, as like educational, and they don't do that anymore.
They don't. I think it's because usually kids, it's more better to be explained. But I think it would be better if you showed it as an example, like this is what could happen.
Yeah, but then people joke it up
and like this. And then joke it up like this. It's just like, for an hour movie, I think that's the issue, is because they had to stretch it out for so long. And like, if you put it shorter and just get the point across instead of just making this huge plot line, I think it would have been better. But they had to put a huge plot into it instead of just putting, hey, this is what happens if you do this.
Yeah.
But they had an actual story to it. It was just, wow.
So the film starts with a jaunty song, a little jaunty tune, and the title, and then a disclaimer about the film. It then has a forward, like an old school Star Wars scroll, like it scrolled up, like, but it was like old school version of it. About the film starting. And it being like, oh, this might startle you.
Make sure your children are in the room. Make sure they are too.
Don't show this to your kids. Show your kids. And it shows you all the bad things that marijuana, spelled with an H, can do. And I think I got this spelling wrong because I remember seeing this movie and I think I spelled it with an H on a test. I think there was a test, and someone's like, "Nah, it's spelled with a J." And I'm like, "No, man, I know that I've seen it spelled with an H somewhere, and I think this is where I saw it." Yeah. So,
marijuana.
It's Hawaiian. Hula hula. So, what?
Dumb. Oh no.
So we then see a newspaper factory and a newspaper popping forward about the dangers of marijuana.
Oh yeah, it kept zooming in and stuff. It's like, watch out for your children. This car crashed.
And there's a meeting to come to for the meeting the demands of education about the use of marijuana. So this stern-looking guy gives a speech about marijuana and how law enforcement is trying to fight against it and fight against the spread of marijuana. And he talks about how in New York there was a field of marijuana found, and it was being sold to local schools.
Yeah, and people just kept picking at it.
It's just like out there picking daisies. They're just picking marijuana.
They had to inspect it closely and stuff. It's like, it's obviously marijuana. The thing is that it's like, it was only parents I saw, and you would usually think there was like high school students up in there maybe. Which I guess they'd be like, oh, here's your parents, this is what's happening, make sure your children aren't doing this.
Yeah, well, they were trying to spread the message to parents to tell your kids, warn your children. Could you imagine being in this meeting with this guy, and like they show you this film, and then you go home and you're like telling your kids, and your kids are looking at you like, you're crazy, old man. What are you talking about? Oh no, the marijuana's Billy. So they're gonna get
Watch
you.
Out, Timmy.
I injected the marijuana, and now I'm crazy. So he. By the way, don't do drugs. Okay,
don't do marijuana.
Don't. So he goes into other drugs like heroin and cocaine, but says that marijuana is worse. I disagree.
I disagree completely.
I mean, if you're on heroin, your life is really bad, and cocaine is. I mean, these are like horrible drugs.
Horrible.
I liked how they were showing all the different ways that people like store it, like in their shoes.
Yeah, in this time watch, opens the time watch, and just inside of there.
Yeah, pills. Oh no.
Oh no. It's like in a woman's shoe specifically, and they open like the shoe and it like starts putting it out.
Yeah. Who's doing this?
I don't remember this happening.
Right. You buy some high heels and you pop the heel off and you...
Talk about the drugs fall out.
Oh no.
They found it. So can I check your watch, please?
Right. Do you have the time? I have the cocaine. So then the story about May and her apartment that hosts wild parties starts. Like that's how they kind of like, so it's a story within a story.
Yeah.
A man comes in and wakes May, and it seems like it's afternoon or evening, but she's blamed out, man.
Hey, hey, wake up! What time is it? It's time for you to get up.
So the man wakes her and tells her to clean up, and looks like the Marines came through. Which nice shout out to the Marines, and like trounce the place. But she's like, oh, maybe the Marines and the Navy. So May says they don't need to drag kids up to the apartment, but the man says button your lip and clean up. So good relationship.
Very nice.
A couple of, and I will say quote unquote kids show up looking for May. Did you notice how these kids look like grown people?
I don't think they had the budget for kids, even though they had a lot of money. You think that maybe they got more actors, but maybe like when them trying to like, oh, come to this movie, we're going to be talking about marijuana. Maybe a lot of people are like, why would you need kids for this?
Right, but I mean, they're saying kids, but these people look like 30.
Right, and they're like in their like early 30s. Like they look old. They're like really tall and stuff.
Right,
and it's like these kids look like they're in college. Kids, high school, middle school, what?
Yeah. So the man goes in and tells May that she has customers and that he has deliveries to make. We then see a school crossing and some kids crossing, talking to a guy named Ralph. The man from the apartment comes up and talks to Ralph, and they look at a girl. Then from the apartment, I think his name is Jack, talks to Mary, Bill, and her brother Jimmy.
Yeah, they're just introducing characters at this point.
Yeah, about a party that they should come to. Bill and Mary don't go, but Jimmy goes along with Ralph. So, yeah. The start of madness. We then see a party going on, and Ralph, Jimmy, and Jack show up. They talk about going to Mary's apartment later. So this is like a little sub club. Like it's Joe, I know, is because he says, see you later, Joe, who's the guy that's behind. So it's kind of like a malt shop, I guess. Jimmy meets up with a girl and dances and then plays the piano while the piano player goes and smokes weed crazily.
Behind closed doors.
Yeah, behind closed doors. It's the weed demon. He smokes it like,
he looks around like, he looks around nervous. He's like, hi.
Right? Like, he's like there's other people in the room with him. There's
right?
nobody
like,
in there.
Nobody in there. Like, what are you looking at?
We then see Bill and Mary, who have finished their doubles game and doing some math. They drink hot chocolate and Bill recites poetry.
Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah, you're right.
And he's like doing it, and the girl's like, oh. And she, between his talking, she just sits there awkwardly waiting for him to finish.
Yeah, she looks all sweet-faced, and the mother looks unhappily as they kiss, so she's like, oh.
And she walks out, and he's all like, oh, I'm gonna go now, and leaves.
Yeah, but before he leaves, he clumsily falls into the fountain. So I'm like, are they trying to show bumbling Billy? I mean, what's...
Whoa.
He's a clumsy... So Bill makes it home, and his brother razzes him about dating Mary. I think it was a brother.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure
it was a brother.
They didn't say his name, I don't think.
Timmy. I think his name was like Timmy something.
Was it Timmy?
I think so.
Oh.
We never really see the brother again, do we?
No, you never see him again.
Never see him again. He's just there just to be there.
Yeah. So later, Jimmy is driving and sees Bill, and they go to Joe's club again and meet up with Ralph.
Can I note, before we keep going, that he acted very weird to his little brother during that scene. He was like, Ma, tell him to stop.
Well, yeah, I think it's because he's supposed to be like
a kid,
13.
He's so much more taller.
26?
He's so much more taller than the little brother.
Yeah,
like, that's the only kid actor they can get.
He's a full-grown man,
right?
Oh, make him stop, bro. You're 26. It's time to grow up.
Right.
Oh, gee. So they talk about going to May's apartment. They then go to May's apartment where there is now a party going on. Bill looks quite concerned and reserved. Bill and May then go talk to Jack in the kitchen about him needing more smokes. So Jack asked Jimmy to take him to the store while everyone starts to smoke reefers.
Yes.
And the madness begins. The girl sitting with Bill gives him one and tells him to smoke it. And I'm pretty sure her name is Blanche. So he nervously does, and Ralph laughs at him. So his laughing starts at this point with
yeah.
Meanwhile, Jimmy drops off Jack, who is there to pick up more marijuana cigarettes. While he is in there, Jimmy gets a smoke and from Jack so that he can smoke it while he waits. And it's like,
that's a great idea.
So while in there, a man comes in complaining about them pushing the drugs instead of gin, like in the old days, but the guy kicks him out. He's like,
get out.
He's like, one day, I wish you had kids so I could get out.
It's all loud and stuff.
He's just all smile face at him. He's like,
yeah.
Jack returns to the car with the goods, but now Jimmy is red hot, as he calls it, after smoking the reefer. Jack tells him to drive carefully, but Jimmy takes off recklessly. While driving, Jimmy runs a red light and completely mows this old man down.
But the way he falls is so weird. He was all, he was all limp body when he fell, and it showed him like driving towards him. The guy walks in front of him.
Yeah.
But when he hits, he's at the side of the car, and then he falls onto the sidewalk, which that's not where he was at all.
he's like in front, looks over, gets hit, and then they go to the other screen. He's just.
Yeah. And no one's like, "Are you okay?" And they just drive off. Like they don't even care.
They had no
reaction. The police come. He starts running over all awkwardly, like, "Are you okay, sir?" I'm like, "He just got hit by a car."
I don't think he's good. We then see Mary studying and talking to her mom about Bill and how they're having trouble, and she's like, "Well, just ask him." And he's like, "Well, Bill never lies. He's a good boy." And I'm like.
Nope.
lady, you're like 40. Jimmy comes in and is all angry and telling Mary not to give him the business because he's like, "How are you?" He's like, "Nah." This is breakfast time. The man that was at the beginning of the movie talking is now in the movie talking to a Fed about needing to do something about the drugs. They talk about all of the marijuana raids and arrests that have revolved around marijuana. The guy's name is Dr. Carroll.
Yeah.
And he's talking to Bill about how he is doing poorly in school and life in general. And he thinks it's because of marijuana. He's giving him the business.
Is there anything you would like to tell me? And you could see him physically hesitate, just like look to the side and give him like pause. And he's like, "Actually, no, not at all."
Right.
That's not suspicious at all.
Yeah, right. Bill lines it up proper and says he's not doing drugs, but is just worried about something at home. And the guy's all...
He's like, "Okay."
Well, if you have anything to talk to me about... But he completely doesn't believe him.
It's obviously he doesn't believe him. It was like that huge pause. Like, don't even act like he didn't notice that.
So Mary is then waiting at the club for Bill to play their doubles game, but he doesn't show up due to his addiction.
Where's Bill? I don't know. And they just never show that screen again.
He ain't been here in a couple weeks.
Really just not important at all.
Right. So Bill is actually at May's again, watching a lady dance crazily, and that's Blanche. And she's doing some crazy hip hop dance.
she's doing all sweet and stuff.
Yeah. May and Jack talk about Bill and the other kids catching on, like with coming up to the apartment and doing drugs and everything like that. Bill and the girl go in a room while Raph laughs goofily in a chair, as per usual.
He just stares. It just cuts to him sometimes, and he's just like, and it cuts back to somewhere else, like for no reason.
I think it's to show his slow descent into madness due to the marijuana.
He looked like he didn't been mad, you know?
Yeah, his eyes keep getting darker too. Did you notice that? Like
everybody's,
his eyes keep getting like darker.
The other eyes get all dark and stuff. Like that's not what happens at all. It's all
creepy.
Do you
know what happens?
Well, I've seen videos that are different kinds of educational videos. You know.
Gotcha. Jimmy continues playing the piano while Raph looks to be going insane. The same day, the cops go to Mary's about the hit and run because her license plate is close to what someone wrote down. They were like, well, they wrote down the wrong one, but it's close to yours.
Well, it's like, no, he was like, did you lend these boys your car at any chance? And she was all, no, not at all. And I'm just like, is that not suspicious at all?
Right. And she puts her hand behind her back like she's like crossing her fingers and everything like that. Yeah, she completely lies.
And they're like, and that's all the evidence they need. I'm like,
they're like, good enough for us.
Right?
Your tax dollars at work. So since she lies for him, she then tracks Jimmy down to May's place in order to ask him about what's going on. Ralph answers the door and is all excited to see Mary because this is the girl that he's been like chasing after, basically.
Yeah.
Ralph kicks everyone out of that's in there. These are just people like just passed out on the couch. He's like, hey,
get up, leave.
Get out of here.
Get
out. So that he can hit on Mary. And he gives her a marijuana cigarette.
Doping her up, you know. He gave her his.
He sure did, man. He
really doubled,
here's more. Here's more. Just keep on smoking. Here's more.
She was all laughing at nothing, too.
Blanche and Bill are now looking all sad in the room.
For no reason.
While Ralph continues to get Mary high. Ralph then attacks Mary. Like, hey, ah! Bill comes out and sees it and is still all high and thinks he sees this is going on willingly. So he attacks Ralph. Jack comes out and attacks Bill with a gun, hitting him with it in the head. The gun fires and ends up shooting Mary, killing her.
Somehow.
So,
he comes out all stone-faced, though. He looked all paranoid and stuff. His eyes were all bulging out of his head and stuff.
Yeah, his face was crazy. He's all...
And it's like, I don't think she might have been sitting up, but it cuts to her just being laid down all flat and stuff on the couch. It was all weird looking.
Yeah, well, she was dead.
I guess so.
She was shot in the back, through the stomach into the spine. I mean, you're not coming back from that.
No, she's not. And it wasn't even her fault. She wasn't even doing nothing. She just got shot. I didn't even actually see him get hit over the head, maybe, but like he was passed out near the couch when he was over by this other table.
Yeah, Jack comes out with the gun and hits him, and then they like wrestle around for the gun, and the gun goes off, and she's dead.
She's dead. Yeah, she's dead. That's very calm.
Right, that's exactly how she's dead. Jack tells Ralph and the Blanche to get out of there so that he can fix the mess. He wipes the gun down for Prince and then puts it in Bill's hand, making him think that he shot Mary. Him and May like spritz him with water. Did you see how big that? Like she had a big old pitcher of water,
and then he just sticks his hand and just.
Flick,
flick, oh, it was all wimpy too. It was like, just pour the water on his face gently, like just wake him. I don't think a couple of droplets of water are gonna wake him up like that, but it did. But like, be more realistic.
Yeah. So Bill breaks down proper while Jack tells May the story to give to the cops. So basically, they're gonna pin it on him.
I like how it's like, oh no, Mary, and then they go walk over somewhere else and just stops completely. Just like no more crying in the background.
And they go back to me, so.
Yeah. That's the best. That made me laugh kind of hard.
So Jack goes to Joe's club and gets Jimmy to talk about the hit and run and tell him to keep his mouth shut about having ever gone up to May's apartment. So I guess basically he's trying to say, make people not talk about May's apartment at all. Because of, I guess that's pretty much it for Jimmy. I mean, he's just
never seen it again.
He's like, yep, no problem. And then he gets No trouble.
No, he never seen it again. I don't think.
He literally never hit and run the man, and that's it for Jimmy's story.
The police really did a bad job in finding him out, huh?
It's still unsolved to this day,
right? Yeah, they don't have enough evidence, man. They're just like, oh, well, right. You said that's not your car? Not your car, then.
Good enough for us. Can we see the car? Oh, we don't need to see the car. She's not lying. She's a good girl.
Yeah, exactly. Why would she lie?
She's dead. We're then in a courtroom and see Bill's trial going on.
With the dude from the beginning, right?
Yep,
as
Dr. Carroll.
Yeah, as the lawyer, maybe?
No, Dr. Carroll is a witness, and he's giving a character witness to detail Bill's recent behavior. Later, we see Ralph and Blanche talking while Ralph is going crazy, smoking reefer wildly. Like, he's just not doing well with the whole...
His eyes are, black around, you could tell that he looks crazy. And he looks all skinny, too.
Yeah.
He looks kind of bad.
He's not looking good. Jack has them all on lockdown, hiding out while the trial goes on. Jack goes to see the guy about Ralph, the boss guy.
Yeah.
And what they're going to do about him, thinking he is going to crack. Because they're like, yeah, he's not going to be able to hold off on saying something. There's something wrong with him. So the boss guy tells Jack that maybe he needs to be killed off before the verdict comes in. Like, in not so many words, he's like, take it, because Jack gives him the okay.
Yeah. The okay sign.
We then see the prosecutor giving his final argument, saying that just because he was on reefers does not mean he is guilty, or not guilty of murder.
Oh, yeah.
So
you can see the people writing down guilty on the little papers.
Yeah, that's coming. So, because everybody's all, oh, for shame.
Shaking my head,
Billy is really rough looking. So the court is adjourned, and we see the jury talking about how they need to make an example of Bill by voting him guilty and punishing him harshly. I like how the one guy sees a noose swinging instead of the shadow. Yeah,
and it's not even matched up either. You can see the circle in the background, the circle saddle, and then you turn back, and it's just a noose swinging. And he looks so concerned too. He's like, huh?
Yeah, but then he's like, yeah, we need to make him really guilty, not just really guilty, extra guilty. So then we are back for the verdict, and of course, it's guilty.
Guilty, yeah, so, definitely.
Up at May's apartment.
And he looks so sad by it, by the way. He looks all sad and upset about it. He puts his head down on the desk, and you just feel kind of bad for him.
Yeah, definitely. I feel really bad for Bill. It's like he has no clue what's going on, and his life is just ruined. I mean, here he was just some kid, now he's just...
even he thinks that it's his fault, too, because he, woke up, and he's like... And Jack's like, oh, you killed him. You killed you killed Mary.
So, up at May's apartment, Ralph is about at his end. Like, he's literally going crazy and begging for reefers. He's, give me some reefers. So, May gives Ralph the reefer, and he goes on about wanting to see Jack. Then Ralph sits and smokes, looking crazy. Like, he gets really crazy. Blanche continues to play the piano and smoke, trying to keep Ralph calm.
He's all, cut that racket.
Yeah, at first, and then he's like...
faster, faster, faster,
right.
With the music.
Literally going insane. Jack comes in, and Ralph knows he wants to kill him. So Ralph beats him to death with a bat.
Or a pipe. I thought it was a pipe.
It might have been a pipe. I don't know, because there was no sound effect to it.
It was all just bland,
and then it's just silence, silence.
Yeah, basically. There's nothing, and she's all laughing in the background during the whole thing. And I'm just like, because she was high on reefers too.
Yep.
And because he got her high, because she's like, give me a smoke.
Yep. So a lady who I'm assuming is a neighbor that heard the silent beating,
the silent screams,
calls the cops to report the fight, and Stella comforts Ralph. Like, she's like,
there's a fight going on in there.
Blanche, I meant to say, not
because she's just standing there, and he's all just with the pipe in the hand and stuff, and he's just sitting there all bland like, and she's like, oh, it's okay.
Yeah. The cops come in, and they take them all away.
Yeah, they're just up there. He's still sitting there, and she's like, no.
Yeah, she runs to the back, and the guy comes from the back. I'm like, how'd you get in the bedroom?
Right. She starts running from the front as well. He's been hiding there the entire time.
Wow.
Right?
We were looking for the car, and we found you.
We found you. You lied.
So they start questioning them about what happened. And they're just like, no. And then she's like, oh, I'll tell you. So they raid the drug houses after May spills the beans, and the cops arrest the boss guy. that he was always going to see. Blanche straight up rats out the story about Jack being the real killer of Mary, not Bill. Like, she's like, I'll tell you the whole story.
I think she likes Bill more than Jack, definitely.
Right.
Well, especially since Jack's dead now.
Right.
So I don't even think it mattered. Like, yeah, whatever.
But she literally tells the whole story about how she was the one that caused it, since she brought all the kids up there.
Yeah.
So yay, Bill is not guilty due to her confession, which is good for Bill, even though his future is in the crapper.
Because he killed Jack.
No.
Well,
Ralph killed Jack.
Oh, Ralph killed Jack, my bad.
Yeah, Bill is the kid.
Yeah.
The kid.
The kid.
Kid, yeah.
the 40-year-old kid, you know.
Yeah, but the marijuana got him already.
Definitely.
His future's ruined. As Blanche is led down the hall to be held as a material witness, she's looking back as how she caused all of this. Like the movie's
you see
literally
the flashbacks and stuff.
Flashbacks to her head.
Like some of the stuff, like she wasn't even involved in.
No, she wasn't even there for it.
Like, how'd you know this? It's like stuff that she was like in the bar and stuff.
Yeah,
like you weren't there.
Showing him run over people and everything.
Right, in the car, in the back seat.
Hold on. So distraught, she runs and jumps out the window to her dad. She's like, and then they just show the dummy laying down on the floor.
It's all large and big and
it's huge.
Completely like over the sidewalk and on the other side of the grass and stuff. The kids walking by and stuff.
Yeah, but they were little in comparison to the body.
Exactly.
That doesn't make sense.
It wasn't even all like positioned or anything. It was just all flattened out. Yeah. Wasn't it like the mom who was with her, just walking with her?
I don't know. It might have been
an old lady following her.
It was just some other lady.
Yeah.
So then the judge does free Bill, but gives him a stern talking to for his behavior. And he's like, you got to watch the next, the trial of Ralph. So that way, you can see what your future could have been if you don't straighten up. Unfortunately, Ralph is now insane.
Yeah, he's all held by the cops and stuff.
Yeah, and they keep showing like the flash of his face,
his eyes and stuff. His eyes looking around. Yeah.
So they're like, yeah, the prosecution just wants to stick him in an institution for the criminally insane, and the defense is like, yeah, that's fine with us.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no problem. And the judge is like, okay.
I want to note that I don't get why she just immediately suicided at that point. Like, I mean, maybe during like any other point, but it just all like flashed at her at the same time.
It caught her.
And I mean, like she helped him, and then they're like, oh, okay. Like, I guess that she just got overwhelmed, maybe.
I guess.
Random,
I don't know. It didn't work out. It didn't work out for anybody doing the marijuanas, except for Jimmy. Who got away with hit and run murder. The guy died.
He died. He was all flat on the ground. And this is, by the way, this is after only one.
Right, one marijuana cigarette.
Apparently, like they eventually went to 2 and 3 and stuff, but like that's only 3. This is just them going crazy over like 1, 2.
Yeah. Yep. If you smoke the devil's lettuce one time,
hit and run.
hit and run, your life is done.
Right.
So, the story then ends with Dr. Carroll once again talking to the crowd that he was talking to at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
And how the next tragedy could affect you. And he points to one, or you. And then he points right at the screen and says,
or you.
Or you.
I think he was talking about the kids like, your kid, or your kid,
yep.
or yours.
Or yours. And then that's how the movie ends.
It's like made those like I don't get like how Jimmy got away like scot-free. Like nobody saw his face when they drove by. Nobody like took a second. Like there was a cop. There was a cop too.
Even still though, I mean, if you're trying to make a movie about not wanting to do drugs or anything like that, you literally let this kid get off scot-free
for the hit and run. Like, oh yeah, we can get away with a hit and run if we do drugs, guys.
Right. Right. You can't go there and shoot anybody, but you can definitely do a hit and run. That'll be okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, you can get away with everything if you do that.
So what are your overall thoughts on film on the X movie?
Very long, drawn out, because a lot of the talking went around. Like, it was just, like, kind of filler for the talking. Just like, oh, yeah, fill the movie up with talking, and then we can show some parts with the important parts. Mm-hmm. I mean, I get there's supposed to be a plot.
Yeah. But
the plot wasn't really anything. It was just, like, a bunch of kids doing drugs, and then, like, bad things happened to them. Like, they just, like, kids. And it's just like a bunch of bad things happened to them, and that's all it showed.
But would you recommend this to a friend?
No.
No?
No.
You don't think this is funny enough to win?
You want to watch this movie about drugs and not wanting to do drugs?
Oh, man. What would you rate it out of 5, movies-wise?
Well, I'd rate it out of 5. A big, probably like a 4 point something.
You give it a 4 something?
Like a 4.5 maybe.
So you're not recommending to a friend, but you'd give it a 4.5?
I mean, it's funny, but a lot, like, I feel like it's too drawn out.
Okay.
Because I don't think, like, oh, you've never seen the movie before, and, you know, I don't want to explain it to them or show them the trailer, because then they know what's going to happen.
Oh, yeah, you can't show anybody the trailer.
And because I need to see, you know, just the podcast, but they probably be like, oh, this is kind of boring, and it's old-timey, and a lot of, you know,
a lot of talking.
Like,
I got you. So you like it, but would you recommend it to somebody? I got you. Cool.
I might recommend it to like one of my older friends, maybe.
I'd give this movie a strong 3. I don't think it deserves anything more than a 3.
I mean, it's a 4 because it's funny, and I guess it does get the point across. But it's just because it's a 3 for like basically plot.
If you're watching this movie as like a serious, like I'm going to sit my kids down and try and teach them something, I give it a 1.
I give it like a 1. Yeah.
As for the comedy satire type thing, I give it a 3.
I give it like I get the 1 because like no, I get it 1 because it's definitely like oh, this doesn't teach me anything. It's kind of wrong because that doesn't really happen to you. I mean, I'm not telling from experience. But it definitely, like, as after one blunt, you go, ha ha, I'm gonna go kill somebody now, you know?
Yeah. You never know, man. I mean, it takes one drink and
I guess.
You go do something stupid.
But I mean...
I just think that my whole take on it was there's a lot of... Drugs are drugs, you don't need to do drugs. Alcohol is a drug, you don't need to do drugs. Cigarettes, in my opinion, are a drug, and you don't need to do tobacco
and
or drugs.
Like, I think it'd be better if they just explained it better, instead of just
marijuana being... shown as like the worst out of all these other like no there's so many worse things to do than marijuana. So
I feel like it would have been better if they did cocaine for this one because
because at least it's like he goes insane laughing and everything,
and then like he goes and he like kills somebody. Like I mean, murder is pretty serious, and I get if you're like high, but that doesn't mean you're like. I think it would be kind of loopy and stuff.
I don't know, man. Just not be doing... No, don't be driving and doing all that stuff.
Yeah. Don't drive or you might hit somebody.
All right. You want to hear some trivia?
Sure.
All right. So, this was inspired by the case of Victor Licata, who killed his father, mother, 2 brothers, and a sister with an axe in Tampa.
Really?
Yep, in Tampa, Florida, on October 16th, 1933. Really happened.
Wow.
Allegedly while under the influence of marijuana. That's what he said.
Let me just blame it on that then.
Right. He was declared unfit to stand trial for reasons of insanity. A subsequent psychiatric examination at the Florida State Mental Hospital determined that Licata suffered from schizophrenia with homicidal tendencies.
Ooh. Might be really bad.
The Licata case was used as propaganda for the passage of the Federal Marijuana Tax Act of 1937 that effectively outlawed legal sales of the demon weed.
Devil's lettuce.
So that's just because this guy, I mean, they literally said he's schizophrenic and he has homicidal tendencies, but because it was supposedly done on marijuana, they used it for getting the marijuana. Yeah, you know? Pretty crazy, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, excuse is an excuse, I guess.
Right. The film became one of the earliest cult comedy hits during the golden age of the midnight movies, in which theaters, especially those near colleges, would run this film as special screenings late at night during the weekends.
Really?
So people would go and watch it to have fun and be crazy. The musical number played on the phonograph at the Reefer Party is the same one the Three Stooges played in their short Disorder in the Court, which you're not going to know anything about.
No.
But people listening will. They'll be like, oh yeah, Three Stooges.
I remember that.
So, what else you got for me?
I think that the movie might have been better. I mean, I like the comedy in it. Like, keep the comedy and stuff, like, you know, the satire. But it might have been better if it was like a short film. Like, better if just cut out the plot. Because I don't think the plot was needed. Like, oh, these kids, they're all having their own, you know. I mean, I get the names, but they just introduce every single character and like, oh yeah, this guy likes her, and then he goes and this, and like, just tell me why marijuana is bad.
Yeah, I think they were I don't think that what they were trying to do is what got done.
Like, yeah, I think they were trying, like, let's not make a plot about this and like make it serious. But like, they made it like an hour and 4 minutes.
Yeah,
and it's like. I get it, but like a court case and stuff, like a court case, like I don't think I'm gonna go and kill somebody. I'm like, I don't know, but definitely like it was over exaggerated a lot. And this is after like one joint, they were acting all crazy and stuff. And the one piano guy, he was like never really did. He was crazy looking after he did one joint. He was like just was there to be the piano guy, right?
Yeah, it's crazy. All right, well, cool. Nothing else?
No, I don't.
All right. Well, we're gonna.
Oh well, I think I do one more thing. I think there should have been more sound effects.
Oh,
I think it was very empty place, and like there was no music during the whole entire thing. Like,
well, they were playing the piano music.
It's because it's old timey. I doubt they really had much, but like that scream wasn't really.
When she went out the window,
it's just. And there was no thud at the bottom of it. It just showed flat body. Like nothing. Like I get the music was sometimes important in there, but like. It was just silence. Like, it'll just have characters walking to the other side of the room and then back over to the other side of the room. Hey, Bill. And it's just like, what was the point of that?
Yeah.
Like, add music so we can have something else to focus on at least.
Sweet. So, all right. We're going to wrap this one up tonight.
Yeah.
I'd like to thank everyone for stopping by and listening to our 6th nostalgic episode. We do deeply appreciate it more than you can imagine. We're definitely going to be pumping these things out, so keep an ear out. Shout out to Greg Revan for doing our intro and outro music for this one, as well as our Yesteryear podcast. And as always, we do love you. We say goodnight. Say goodnight, Tabby.
Good night.